What's going on, guys? My name is Will Ross. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today I just thought I would give my review of 5,000 miles on my new 2021 Toyota Tacoma. I've had this truck for almost 4 months now. I know 5,000 miles is a lot to put on a truck car in just 4 months, but I've been driving around, you know, summer. I've had to go back from school to home, and it's about a 2-hour drive, 150 miles in between. So I've been doing that trip a lot and just putting miles on it, trying to chill out as much as possible. But we're at this point now where I can finally do a 5,000 mile review. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go through some things that I like and dislike about the truck, but I want to give some backstory really quick. So I actually used to have a 2005 Acura MDX. I had that for about 4 or 5 years as my first car. And it was just a really raggedy, rundown SUV. It did the job, but it wasn't anything special. And if it were up to me, I would still have that SUV. I honestly didn't want to buy this truck as soon as I did. Unfortunately, the Acura bugged out. It just couldn't take the amount of miles I was putting on it. So I had to get something that was a little bit more reliable, a little bit safer. And I figured it would be the perfect time to put a down payment on something like this. I love that SUV, but it's definitely nice to get a little bit of taste of new. I've never bought a car before, let alone a new car, so it's been really fun to just drive around and, you know, feel good in something that I'm confident driving in, something that I feel reliable in, something that I feel safe in. This is actually the off-road TRD version of the Tacoma. It comes in base SR5, comes in Sport, and I think it comes in Pro other than off-road. So the option I got was the off-road, the one just below Pro. And in my opinion, it's the best bang for your buck. I think the Pro is about $4,000 or $5,000 more, and it's got a few other things, but I just don't personally think that it's worth the amount of money that you're spending, that you would be spending on this car as opposed to the Pro. Oh, and I also want to add that I got the long bed instead of the short bed. No really reason for that. I just thought that I would be hauling around a bunch of stuff and I wanted to be able to fit stuff. So the Tacoma is not a long car as it is. I'd figure I'd just get a long bed with it. So that's the option I opted for. Right now it's actually really polleny outside in the fall, kind of weird. But I woke up this morning and my truck was full of pollen. So I'm actually going to a car wash right now, get it cleaned, and then I'm gonna park it and we'll do the likes and dislikes. But yeah, I'll see y'all then. So here's the outside view. I'm gonna go over some likes and dislikes about it. Some of the likes: I love the way it looks. I absolutely am in love with the way this came out. I love the color I chose. I chose magnetic gray. I just like the way that the tone is neutral. I was in between this and the brown, which honestly I love a lot. I'm actually glad I went with this one though. I feel like I would get tired of the brown. I love the way this thing drives. I just think it has a really smooth ride. Honestly, no problems with the ride quality. I love the way it sits. I actually like the way that the driver's side is sitting when you're driving the car. A lot of people don't like that about the Tacoma, but I like the way that it feels more of a sedan when you're sitting in it, rather than an actual truck. And that's part of the reason why I do love it. Even though there's not a ton of space in the back, I do love the way these are designed. I love the way they feel. And honestly, I've had no problem with 4 or more people sitting in here. So that's not a complaint of mine, actually. I thought it was going to be not fitting people in here, but I've been driving around people in the back seat just fine as far as I've had it. Another thing I really like here is these back handles. They're pretty inexpensive. I think I bought these for like 15, 20 bucks off Amazon. I just like the way they sit in a Tacoma. They're not really used that much, but I like the way they look. I think they should be in all Tacomas. I got my little knife right there. I also love the amount of cup holders this thing has. I think there's around 11 in here. I don't know what the Japanese thought we were gonna do with 11 cup holders, but if you have that many drinks and you need that many drinks, you can hold 11 up in here. So that's a positive, I guess. As far as the bed goes, I think I'm glad I went with the long bed version. I do have some moments where I wish I went with the short bed. This has a better turn radius and it's just shorter, so it's more compact. You can get it to compact places. This I believe is 6'2" in terms of feet, and then I think that the short bed version was 5'11" or 5'10", something like that. So not a huge difference, but definitely a noticeable difference. So turning on the car is pretty simple. I love this display you get right here. turn down the air. Cool little display. Starting up the car, you have the driver's view here. I love the way this thing sits. As I mentioned before, the legs don't reach super high. It doesn't feel like you're sitting on a seat. It feels more like you're in a sedan with your legs out further, if you can see that right there. But I actually like the way that sits. A lot of people don't. I prefer that. That's what part of the reason I love the way this thing rides. Is just the cabin view and the cabin feel. Got my little maintenance required thing right there. All I have to do there is just change the oil. But sitting from the driver's side, you got all your basic functions here and just things like that. As far as cosmetics go, I love the way this thing looks and feels to drive. I think it's also worth mentioning that for the TRD off-road, you get these little half-lit daytime LED lights. With the standard version, not the premium, you don't get LED lights at night. You only get the regular dull yellow ones, but I don't mind that. I like these daytime ones, and I also like the grille. It's pretty nice. Another cool thing that comes in the TRD off-road are these Bilstein shocks. I think they add around 2.5 in the front and maybe 3 in the back. I could be completely wrong about that, but it's somewhere around there. And that comes standard with the TRD off-road and the Pro. So that's one thing I really like about the TRD off-road, is it's got that option. So having finished up the likes, I probably didn't mention everything I wanted to cover, but I just love this truck. There's not a lot of bad things to say about it, especially when you come from something as old as a 2005 MDX. Getting into the dislikes about this car, like I mentioned, there's not a lot I dislike about this car. If I had to pick one thing, maybe it would be hunting for gears. For the transmission, I find myself sometimes either going downhill or uphill. This thing likes to hunt for gears in around a 3 to 4 range. So that's one dislike. Hunting for gears meaning that it won't find the gear automatically. A lot of times it'll stay high in the RPMs if I'm going downhill instead of just switching that gear. Which honestly I don't have a huge problem with. I just thought it was kind of weird when I started driving the car, is one of the things that I noticed. I don't think it's a huge concern at all. I don't know if it hurts the transmission or what, but I don't mind it. I really don't. That's a dislike. Another dislike I'm going to throw in there is actually the long bed. So I know I mentioned it earlier in my likes, having a long bed, but it has its positives and it has its negatives. Some of the negatives being that it doesn't look as proportional as maybe a short bed would. In terms of cosmetically, I would say the short bed looks more visually pleasing, especially when modded or whatever you do to it. I think that it looks better, in my opinion, after having owned the long bed. But if you're somebody that likes to haul around things like me, a long bed's more practical. At the end of the day, we're buying a car for reliability and practicality, not cosmetically, for a truck anyways. This thing's pretty long. Going around corners, you really have to make wide turns. For me, it took a while to learn. Going from an SUV that really was kind of quick in the turn radius, whatever, this has definitely been an adjustment. One that I've made easily. It's not hard. I think after 1,000, 2,000 miles, I really started to understand how this car drives, and it became a lot easier for me to just kind of navigate where I'm going without maybe scraping a curb or getting close to another car or something like that. It doesn't take long to learn, but I would definitely suggest practicing that. Another dislike I'm going to throw in there is the interior quality. I love the way the interior looks. I like it cosmetically, but I think in terms of quality, it's mostly plastic, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. But a lot of times if you're going over bumps, you can hear the kind of plastic move, and maybe if you're on a rough road or something like that, you can kind of hear the plastic shake, and that's not a huge concern of mine. I don't mind that. But there's definitely higher quality material that could have been put into this car, but that's not a huge thing of mine. I still love the way it looks. I think it's going to last a long time. I don't have any problems with that, so that's a dislike, I guess. I'll just throw that in there. Somebody just honked at me. Sitting at a light. The last dislike I'll say is just the miles per gallon. I'm only throwing this in there to kind of fill the space. I think if you're buying a truck, if you're buying a Tacoma, you know what you're getting yourself into, hopefully. You know that trucks just get less miles per gallon. That's just the way it is. You know, your little 2-door Honda Civic is going to get 30 miles to the gallon. Something like this might get 16, 17 in the country. So, and that's not great. You know, that's not great for a car in general, but you're buying a truck, you know what you're getting yourself into. I say do your research, and if you don't know that this thing gets at best 20 miles per gallon on the highway, then that's your own fault. I knew what I was getting myself into buying this truck, and I was totally prepared for it. It didn't surprise me at all. It's something that I wish wasn't the case for trucks, but you know, it is what it is with the gas prices right now. So it can be rough, but at the end of the day, you're driving a really nice, really well-made Tacoma, so that's the price you pay. Oh, another dislike I'll put in there is the off-road wheels. I don't really love the wheels design. I think if it were up to me, I'd probably switch them out for an all black or something bolted on. Looks pretty cool. I love the way they look. Maybe get some bigger tires. This is actually a loan, so I did not buy this car yet. It made sense for me financially to get a loan first as a college student, and then when I'm out, I've got some money saved up, buy it after the loan is up. So I can't do a whole lot to this truck quite yet, but I think that the wheels and tires, when I do buy it, are going to be one of the first things I switch out, just because I don't like the way they look. I think they look a little bit unproportional to the car. I don't like the design that much, but nevertheless, they look fine. Overall, I've had no problems with this truck. This is the best-selling midsize truck in the United States, and I think it's that for a good reason. The last thing I'll say is that I've had no problems with this truck so far. After 5,000 miles, this thing's held up. This thing is driven great. It's performed just how I wanted it to. It's performed more. It's performed better than I thought it was going to originally. Going in, I had a lot of skeptical, I guess, thoughts about owning a truck, owning a Toyota. I don't know why. Toyota's a great, reliable company, but I just love this thing so much. I think that this is going to be in my life for quite some time. And judging by the way things are going now, I can see myself having this till it hits 150,000, 200,000 miles until I decide to sell it. But if you take care of it, if you maintenance it regularly, you wash this thing, you change its oil, whatever, just be good to the car, I think these things can last for 300,000 miles, I bet you. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys clicking on this video. If you want me to do some cosmetic mods to the truck, I think I could do that with the loan. But if not, I'll just keep on doing these little update videos on the Tacoma. Maybe I can buy it sooner in the lease. That would be nice. For whatever reason, the last clip cut off, but I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.